The story continues with a big explosion in a burning house. In the midst of the chaos, there's a scared young girl named Doroko. She's witnessing a group of officers harming and even killing people. Then, we see Mia coming to her, embracing her from behind. Doroko is baffled and asks Mia what's happening. Mia explains that humans suddenly turned on them, attacking and hurting their kind. Doroko remembers that they were getting along well recently, even helping a man named Mr. Tom with his sickness by going to the city. Doroko suggests using magic to defend themselves, but Mia sadly reveals that they can't because the humans are using a device that stops magic. Doroko thinks Ophelia might have answered, and Mia advises her to flee and tell Ophelia what's happening. Doroko is afraid to go alone and proposes that they go together, but Mia encourages her, calling her kind and brave. She advises Doroko to follow the North Star to reach Ophelia Palace, a place they went to during the fertility festival. Mia gives Doroko a doll and tells her to run fast, making sure nobody catches her. Doroko sets out, crossing mountains to reach Ophelia. She clutches the doll as she goes. Meanwhile, human guards surround Mia and tragically take her life. In the current moment, Adonis is desperate to save Doroko and bring Khlo back to life. He pleads with Doroko not to die and asks her for guidance. But before she can share her thoughts, soldiers suddenly open fire, and Doroko tragically loses her life. Adonis is left in shock, feeling that simply knowing how to bring Khlo back to life isn't enough. The soldiers report Doroko's death to their leader, Oukoku. In response, Adonis decides to protect himself using his magic. He creates a barrier around him to shield against the incoming bullets. The soldiers try to harm him, but their bullets are halted by the magical barrier. Adonis then uses his powers to redirect the bullets back at the soldiers, leading to the demise of all but one. Oukoku attempts to shoot Adonis, but he's no match for Adonis's magic. Adonis seizes the bullet and amplifies its size, sending it back at Oukoku, ultimately defeating him. Adonis is convinced that humans are no match for magic, and he swears not to let them live in peace, especially after Khlo's death. He vows to wipe out every single one of them and make them feel the same despair that Khlo experienced. Meanwhile, Yamato urges Yuki to hurry up with the activation of a device she stands before. Yuki is amazed by the device, which was once used to defeat witches, and she believes it can suppress magic. Yuki hopes that by activating it, she can finally be of use to her brother. She urges her companions to speed up the activation process. However, their efforts are interrupted by the director of the National Science Bureau, Theta Samonsta. Theta informs Yuki that she cannot activate the device. Confused, Yuki questions this decision and decides to contact her brother, Yamato. Yamato is puzzled as to why Yuki hasn't activated the device yet. As they talk, he realizes that Theta is on the other side of the phone call. Theta explains that they cannot activate the magic photon suppression device because of certain particles it emits, which are not fully understood by science. Yamato is curious about the significance of these particles, and Theta asks him if he's familiar with the term human cellular dysfunction disease. Yamato recalls that it's an illness that afflicted Soul soldiers who participated in witch hunts a decade ago. Theta suggests that these particles from the magic photon suppression device may have affected the human body and led to this disease. She emphasizes that the device kills cells, which alarms Yamato because he's hearing this for the first time. Theta clarifies that the reason he hasn't heard about it is because they kept it quiet. She explains that without witches to restore the natural environment, the atmosphere that would cleanse these harmful particles has disappeared, and nature is suffering. As things stand, if a human body is exposed to substantial amounts of these particles, it could be utterly destroyed. Yamato is shocked by this revelation and begins to understand that this may be the cause of the king's illness. Yamato observes that Adonis is still taking down his soldiers. Theta advises Yuki to leave now that she knows the truth, but Yuki disregards the warning and proceeds to activate the device. She believes that the immediate threat of magic is more urgent than worrying about a potential illness. However, Theta calls for a retreat and rushes to stop Yuki. Yuki successfully activates the device, rendering Adonis unable to use his magic. Those in the control room notice this, and Yamato seeks an explanation from Director Theta, wondering how Yuki managed it. Theta downplays it, and Yamato questions if Yuki was responsible. Theta urges him to focus on the current threat and asks how they can defeat their opponent without using the device. Yamato reaffirms his duty to eliminate those who harm the Empire. Theta identifies their enemy as the Redia Empire, proclaiming it as indestructible. Yamato orders his units to charge at Adonis. Adonis, unable to use his powers, reaches for a quill. A soldier moves in to kill him, but then a building collapses nearby. After the dust settles, Adonis emerges with the head of the soldier in her hand. Shocked, the other soldiers witness her gruesome victory, believing the witch's apprentice is dead. They congratulate the soldier who killed Adonis. Observers in the control room hail this as the power of the Redia Empire. Yamato contacts his forces and expresses gratitude for their efforts in defeating the witch's apprentice. He reminds them not to celebrate just yet, as they need to collect Adonis's body and assess the damage across the city. Yamato instructs everyone to coordinate with the rescue crews and assist the victims. He notices that the soldier who killed Adonis is quite young, prompting some soldiers to explain that she's a new recruit of the armored foot soldiers. Yamato decides there's no need to investigate further and asks the soldier to check on Director Theta and Vice Director Yuki. In the next scene, we see that Theta and Yuki are being taken for medical treatment. The scene shifts to the king delivering a speech in the aftermath of the disaster. He acknowledges that magic has survived and mentions the abominable arts still existing in the world. He reveals that the boy they took from the witch's hands a decade ago has been unleashed upon the world, which he considers the worst outcome. He labels it a true disaster. The king continues by sharing that Adonis, a longtime prisoner, was indeed a human like them but had become a remnant of the old world, enthralled by magic. Despite 10 years of captivity, they failed to understand how he wielded magic as a human. Looking back, the king expresses regret for allowing him to live. The king reassures the people not to fear, emphasizing that the Redia Empire is the pinnacle of the world. He asserts that their acquired scientific power and unwavering military will can withstand evil forces. He encourages the citizens to let their pride burn bright, proud to be born in the Redia Empire. He declares that the old world is gone. God is dead, and now the nation itself stands as a god. The scene shifts to a girl named Eri at school. She's watching the king's speech on her smartphone. In class, the teacher acknowledges that things haven't been easy, with some of their fellow students losing their lives. Despite this, he insists they must push forward because the national mock exams are beginning tomorrow. One student asks the teacher why the witch's apprentice, who was supposed to be human, sided with the witches. The teacher suggests that the apprentice may have been brainwashed or influenced by something. He concludes the class, stating that homeroom is over. A girl in the class confronts Eri, implying that Eri did something wrong. Eri questions what her problem is, and the girl explains that Eri's reaction to the situation was normal. Other girls in the class urge the questioning girl to hurry up, as they're running late. She leaves, and the scene switches to Eri at a site of a collapsed building. Eri visits a memorial where people are paying their respects to those who lost their lives in the disaster. She believes the soldiers should have done a better job of protecting the citizen. Flashbacks show that on the day of the disaster, Eri was on a date with her boyfriend, Takuma. She left Takuma behind when he was trapped under a building. Takuma was shocked that Eri abandoned him, mentioning that she was the one who confessed her love to him. In the present, Eri reflects on her actions and can't believe she left her boyfriend behind. What's even more surprising is that she finds the guy who used magic to kill her boyfriend kind of attractive. Suddenly, a man from the government appears behind Eri. She tries to delete her pictures, but the man reassures her that it's fine. He asks her not to tell anyone about the pictures. The man explains that the witch's apprentice is a terrible criminal who caused the disaster. He urges Eri not to be afraid, promising not to report her. Eri realizes she has to leave and makes her exit. The man contacts someone and informs them of Eri's location. He believes she might have been influenced by the terrorists and requests her custody, mentioning that the National Security Bureau will handle the rest. He adds that she might either face execution or imprisonment for treason. In another scene, a soldier informs the man, named Oz, that they've completed the final check. We discover that Oz is the deputy director of the National Intelligence Agency. He speaks on the phone, expressing how tiring inspecting the disaster area has been and asks the person on the other end for a kiss and a hug upon his return. The person on the phone, Charmy, asks us to address her transfer request soon as she can no longer handle the overtime and sexual abuse. Charmy, a chief investigator, mentions that some unbelievable analysis has just come in. According to this analysis, Adonis's body is fake. In another location, the real Adonis awakens. This brings an end to our episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more anime recap.